Lesson 5.3, Transport and Homeostasis. In this lesson, you will be able to explain how materials move through organisms. The big idea in this is that cells have to constantly move materials in and out to stay alive. The movement is what helps maintain homeostasis or internal conditions. So if nothing moves in or out, then the cell will not survive. Next, we're going to talk about what materials are actually needed to move. First, we're going to talk about oxygen. Cells need oxygen for cellular respiration, which is how they make energy. Next, carbon dioxide. This is a waste product, so it needs to leave the cell. But in plants, it is specifically used for the process photosynthesis. Glucose is a sugar that is used for energy inside of cells. So during the process of cellular respiration, glucose is a very important input to make energy. Next, water helps maintain the size and balance of a cell. And ions like salts help with things like nerve signals and overall balance. So overall, cells are constantly taking in what they need and getting rid of the waste of stuff that they don't need. Now let's talk about how the cell controls what goes in and out. The cell membrane is a structure in both animal cells and plant cells. It surrounds the cell and kind of acts as a gatekeeper. The cell is selectively permeable. This means it controls what enters and what leaves the cell. Not everything could just pass through freely. This helps keep the inside of the cell stable, which aligns to our idea of homeostasis. So think of the cell membrane as kind of the security guard. So there are two specific ways that materials move. The first way is through passive transport. And this process is when molecules move from an area of high concentration to an area of a lower concentration across the cell membrane. This means from where there is a lot of something to where there is less. There are three types. There is diffusion, which is just molecules spreading out. Osmosis, which specifically talks about the movement of water from high concentration to low concentration. And then facilitated diffusion, where molecules move using protein channels, and that's this red thing over here, to help them move. For example, oxygen moves into cells and carbon dioxide moves out of cells. So in this image here, we see that there is more of the green molecules. So this will be considered a high concentration of molecules. And then here on the other side of the cell membrane, there is less molecules. So this is considered a low concentration of molecules. And molecules move from many molecules, again, which is high concentration, to an area of less concentration of molecules. And this process requires no energy. Next, we have active transport, which is the second type of transport. This does require energy, and it's the opposite of passive transport. Molecules or materials move from low concentration to high concentration. So as you can see in this here, there is less molecules, so this is low concentration, and the materials will move this way. So it's going against something called a concentration gradient, kind of like going up a hill, which is why it needs energy or ATP to function. Think of it kind of like when you're going up a hill, you're requiring effort to move it. The cells also uses the protein pumps for these type of movement of molecules. Because it requires so much energy, it could need a bigger channel in order to move the amount of molecules.